The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to the Timeline of Phoenix Suns podcast. My name is Mike here with Sam. Sam, how are you doing?
I'm good. Ready to cover the over 500 Phoenix Suns this week, as we are on a winning streak since the last time we talked to you guys just a few days ago. We've rattled off a few in a row here.
I think this is our first podcast where they're a winning team over 500. I think every other time they've been five. I think we've actually recorded every podcast where they've been 500, if I'm not mistaken. We have yet to cover a losing team. Maybe the last one was under 500.
Last one was under 500 for sure.
Game under, game under 500 since it was a few days ago, basically.
But we got back-to-back wins against the Jazz. So, last podcast, I think, if I recall correctly, came immediately after serving a little bit of a beatdown on the Wolves. Since then, went into the weekend, back-to-back wins against Utah, back-to-back KD masterclass performances. Mm-hmm. And where do you want to start here, Mike? We got a lot of places we could go.
Because we also have the Bradley Beal news, which we haven't talked about. Let's start with the fun stuff first. Kevin Durant, I think, is the big story here.
We'll bum the people out about Bradley Beal later. We'll talk about Kevin Durant first. That's a good idea.
Third in points per game this season, and Kevin Durant is now at a true shooting percentage of 64.7%, over 30 points per game, and just buried the Utah Jazz. I think what we saw in Kevin Durant this season is he looked amazing, and then Devin Booker got back, and he just added a few easy shots to his already amazing game, and that bumped him up to even more impressive stats for him so far. I mean, he's literally looking like one of the best, if not the best player in the NBA so far this season.
The best player in the NBA. Are we going there?
I mean, I haven't watched enough of other teams to say that. But I mean, statistically, he's right there, so it's not like completely out of, it's not insane to say.
Yeah, he's certainly in the top five. I mean, he's 31, 7, and 5.5, 31.4 points per game, by the way. His highest scoring average on a per-game basis since he won MVP in the 2013-14 season. He was 25 years old on an OKC team with, I mean, you guys know the story, with Russell Westbrook and Serge Ibaka, and I think that was the year after they went to or it's 2 years actually after they went to the finals, but still, like that's how long it has been since Kevin Durant has posted scoring performances quite like this. And I said recently, I still feel like the explosion is coming, like a 50-point game sometime this season could come for Kevin Durant, but mostly we're just seeing these consistent, awesome 35 to 40-point games right now, and he's been incredible. By the way, I have a little game to play with you if you want about that 2013-14 MVP that Kevin Durant won. So he won MVP that year, posting essentially, first of all, to your point, posting basically exactly the same stats that he's posting right now for Phoenix was his stat line in that year when he won 119 of 125 first-place votes. The other 6 first-place votes went to LeBron James, who had already won back-to-back MVPs at that point. So he carried it pretty easily, right? This was not one of the close races. Back then, KD's MVP was not unanimous, but it was pretty close. Do you want to guess, though? Put yourself back into 10 years ago in the time machine. Do you want to guess who finished 3rd, 4th, and 5th in that year's MVP race?
Wow.
2014.
Is Dirk Nowitzki on there?
Dirk Nowitzki is not on there. A little too old at this point.
Paul George?
Paul George is not on there. I think
he had a good season that year.
I think he came like a year or two later when he was on like OKC. I remember that year. One of these you're never gonna get. The other two you might get. I'll give you a hint. 5th place, former Kevin Durant teammate who went off on his own to lead his own team.
Oh, James Harden?
James Harden.
Okay. Wow, he was already there.
I'm
actually surprised he was already in that.
3rd place. Do you want a hint?
Yeah, sure.
Pacific Division Think other Pacific Division star players at the time.
So is it Blake Griffin?
It's Blake Griffin.
Yeah, he had a really good season that year.
Now,
I remember that year.
The one,
because I think that was the year DeAndre Jordan was injured a little bit too. And that's the year I think his assists went up.
I actually can't remember. I want to say off the top of my head, though, that was like peak. That was kind of peak Clippers, right? That was them at their most dangerous, maybe their best chance. Maybe a couple years later, too. I remember they had a really awesome season. Fourth place in MVP voting this year. You're never going to get this one, which is why I wanted to play this game with you. Do you want me to just give it to you?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you could try giving me a hint if there's any way.
I don't know how to give you a hint in a way that doesn't just. It's not
give it away.
Not a score. Just not a guy straight up not a score.
Is it Roy Hibbert?
12 points per game. I'll just give you the points per game. Fourth place in MVP voting.
12 points per game?
12 points per game. Fourth place in MVP voting in 2014. Who was it?
Wow. I mean, that's like...
He made all NBA first team this year, I think.
It has to be a really good defender, so it's not Roy Hibbert. I'm guessing that's too early for Roy Hibbert.
It's not Roy Hibbert.
And it can't be Draymond Green. It's too early for Draymond Green. I mean, not that he ever would get MVP votes, but Kevin Garnett was too old at that point.
KG was too old. But you are right.
No idea.
It's a defense guy. He was the defensive player of the year this year. And one of his teammates, I mean, this will give it away. The reason this guy won MVP is because one of his teammates was a former MVP himself who became injury prone and could never stay healthy again.
I don't know. Tell me, who is it?
It's Joakim Noah.
Oh, wow.
Do you remember? Yes. Do you remember this season? Joakim Noah averaged like 5 assists per game.
Yes, I do. I think that's the Pau Gasol year too, isn't it?
It's before the Pau Gasol year. That was a little bit later, but it was Joakim Noah. Jimmy Butler was there, but he was young. Carlos Boozer was still there, but he was old. And so holding them all together, and Derrick Rose, of course, played like 10 games. I think Luol Deng was still there, but he was injured too. So holding this all together is Joakim Noah, which realistically, I don't understand how you average 12 points per game and finish fourth in MVP voting, even if you are the defensive player of the year. That's like, in hindsight, Rudy Gobert being fourth in MVP voting.
But he also had like 5 assists a game, didn't he?
He did.
At that time?
He did. Yeah. It was a really bizarre season. I just thought that was funny in hindsight. But
that's just an example of how the NBA has changed, but Kevin Durant somehow has not.
Yeah, honestly, yes. The fact that KD's still here 10 years later, and Rudy Gobert will not be fourth in MVP voting this season, we could safely say.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron James is the other guy that's obviously still here and still playing really amazing, but that's pretty crazy. And what was his true shooting percentage that year, Kevin Durant's? Do you have that in front of you?
I'm on Joakim Noah's page right now, so let me pull up KD.
Is it bookmarked, the Joakim Noah page? I really liked Joakim Noah that year. I remember actually being a big fan of how he played.
Well,
that's was like the early prototype of like the center who plays defense and still knows how to pass.
Oh, and I mean, 2014, if you think about it too, is still like kind of early to mid-era YouTube. It was like Grantland era, peak. Yeah. It was kind of peak Blog Boy. Like, I remember a lot of just analytic takes about Joakim Noah if you were online at that point. KD's true shooting percentage, I'm on the wrong tab. KD's true shooting percentage that season was 63.3. Yeah. He is higher right now.
I mean, he's more efficient now than he has been in his career, at least in jump shots. The thing that held him up in previous years was getting to the rim, but now, I mean, he's 5th right now in the NBA in free throws attempted per game. So he's keeping his free throws attempted high. Yes, he does not get to the rim and shoot at the rim like he used to, but still able to get to the line, and then the most efficient jump shooter in the NBA over the last few seasons. Just pure scorer, can do it from anywhere. And like I said, you know, he had the entire team on his back for a good stretch of the season there without Devin Booker, with Bradley Beal in and out of the lineup as well. And he was taking a lot of difficult shots. You add a couple wide open corner threes that Devin Booker has helped, you know, creating for him, then you just get to this really insane player. And the thing is he's still taking a ton of difficult shots. It's not like it's all easy ones now.
Yeah.
He's just adding a few extra ones in there. And he's absurd. I mean, he's absurd. Those Jazz fans, the ones in attendance, are probably going to have nightmares about him after those 2 games. And look, I want to mention too, because he is 35, he's 3rd in minutes per game in the NBA right now. And that's not great. You know, an extra it's enough games where an extra 10 minutes of a double overtime game kind of does impact that a little bit to inflate those minutes per game. But he's playing a lot right now. And, he said he played 48 minutes in that game, and he said he could have played 58. Of course, he's always going to say that. He just wants to be out there, wants to play as much as possible. But it is kind of crazy that at this point of his career, he's still able to play that many minutes, third in minutes per game in the entire NBA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's always going to give cute sound bites like that, to be frank. Like, he's going to say he could play 55, 60
ball,
minutes.
Right? Yeah.
He's the same as Book. That doesn't mean we don't want to wrap him up and bubble wrap a little bit and protect him where we can, especially with him being so versatile. We've gotten what we have been asking for. KD played, I think, the end of the fourth quarter in that second Jazz game last night, end of the fourth quarter, and the entire first overtime at the center position. And then, interestingly, the Suns kind of flipped back. They went into second overtime, and Nurkic checked back into the game. So, a good example, by the way, of just Frank Vogel playing around with different stuff in that game.
Unafraid to try things.
Yeah. But KD's going to log minutes at center, and he's obviously going to spend most of his time at power forward. He's going to continue to put the team on his back from an offensive standpoint. So every minute that he's in there is a workload. It's not like he's getting any possessions off all that easy.
Yeah, and if you're wondering, it's especially that first overtime, why they just went to the same thing over and over and over again with Kevin Durant in the post with Devin Booker feeding it to him. It's pretty simple.
It worked.
It worked. Yeah, I mean that's the first thing. But also, no big in the game, right?
Yeah.
They're playing 5 out, and Devin Booker could dribble, but he doesn't have the screener that he has normally. Was it an odd game for Devin Booker? Yes, I have some thoughts on Devin Booker that I'll share in a second, in the ways that it could change in the future. But if it works, it works. They bring 2 to the ball. They have to help way off of the other guys because Devin Booker's 1 pass away, so that creates all this space in the corner. And, Eric Gordon really capitalized after. I would say that Eric Gordon's had a tough stretch, especially defensively. I looked at the at-rim stats for the Suns yesterday, and I don't know if it included the double overtime game yet when I was looking at the stats, but at that time, opponents were shooting 100% at the rim when Eric Gordon was guarding them. 100. They didn't miss a single one.
What's the sample there? Is it like, it can't be that many shots?
It's a few every game.
It's a few every game, so it's like 20
it's
for 20.
Not a small sample size.
Yeah, okay. That's tough.
It's small, obviously small over the course of an entire
but
season. At this point of the season, not small.
His offense, though, to be fair to him just a little bit, and I know you're not picking on his offense, but his offense was spectacular, and they don't stay in the game last night against Utah without Eric Gordon hitting tough shots.
8 straight points, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Utah was challenging for most of this game KD and Book to actually be scorers rather than playmakers, maybe because of the fact that Booker destroyed them with 15 assists in the first matchup. But then they go into the second game, and finally, KD has, 32 points or something going into the first overtime, and they say, okay, enough of this. We're going to double and force someone else to beat us. In comes Eric Gordon. Grayson Allen obviously spacing in the other corner, so you have the maximal spacing. And both of those guys hit huge shots. Grayson Allen, just to give him his props too, still at 49% from deep on the season. The Suns are, for as much as we've complained, various people online and us and whoever, can we survive playing Josh Okogie or Jordan Goodwin or Keita Bates-Diop or all these guys who we think are questionable shooters. And here are the Suns. They're second in the league in three-point shooting. That's Grayson Allen, that's Kevin Durant, and that's Devin Booker primarily. Those three, and a little bit Eric Gordon too, just on sheer volume. But those 3 guys above the rest are all shooting close to 50% from deep still. It's
Drew
insane.
Eubanks.
And Drew Eubanks.
100%.
Who's 2 for 2. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think Eric Gordon too. It's hard for Eric Gordon, I think, a little bit defensively when they're starting with Devin Booker, Grayson, and Eric Gordon. KD's not always on the biggest guy in those lineups. Sometimes it's Eric Gordon. And Eric Gordon spent time guarding Karl Anthony Towns and even guys like Talen Horton-Tucker in this last game who are just massive compared to him and just kind of bully him on his way to the rim. And then he just gets beat up and then stands 5 feet behind the three-point line on the other end and launches threes. It's a tough situation for him, I think, but they're going to need him to do that because as we hinted at, Bradley Beal's out for 3 weeks. He's probably, I have a feeling they're going to roll with this starting lineup with 2 other offensive-minded players in the starting lineup with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant and Yusuf Nurkic for as long as it works. I don't see any reason for them to change it. They did go to like Keita Bates-Diop minutes at important times in the last 2 games, and I wouldn't mind if he started still, just because I don't know. Looking at some of the team stats, it sure would be nice to get a little extra rim protection in there. He's not great at it, but he's big.
What's interesting about Keita, traditionally not a big rim protector, not a lot of blocks, but he's gotten a lot of steals, a lot of blocks, just getting his hand on the ball quite a bit in the past 2 games. So right now I think he's averaging like a block and a half per 36 or something. I don't expect that to hold, but if it does, it's awesome. I kind of feel like we're at a point where you can't really go wrong with who you start. Maybe Josh Okogie is the wrong choice, unfortunately, I have to admit, at this point, as a guy who's like his minutes have dwindled in the past couple and he's struggled. But
the defense has been not as good as normal too for him.
Well, yeah, but
he can't be bad at both.
Between choosing KBD or Eric Gordon and Grayson Allen, like the offensive pairing, I think both options are working. And that's the most important thing. Just to put a stat to it, according to Cleaning the Glass, the book Gordon, Allen, KD, Nurkic starting 5 that they're currently doing has logged 86 possessions together. Not the biggest sample, but we're starting to get somewhere with that, And they have a 138 offensive rating.
Oh, my God. I did not look that up yet. That's crazy.
So they have a 119 defensive rating, which is horrible. But when you have
not that bad if you have that kind of offense.
When you have
net rating,
I mean, that's essentially saying if your average final score is 138 to 119, are you really going to complain about the defense? You have the best offense of all time. So, they're currently in a situation where as long as guys are making their shots, they can't really go wrong. I bet it would look even better with Bradley Beal in the lineup. But
let's talk about Devin Booker a little bit,
sure,
because I think that brings up an interesting point, because you're right, it looks great and everything is working really well as a team. I'm going to say Devin Booker's having an amazing season, obviously. I'll mention it again. The second Utah game was a little bit of a weird game for him because he looked kind of passive. But the thing that I think watching Devin Booker this year is because he's on the ball so much, it's hard to make the point. It's hard to really say that he's being optimized as a scorer, I think. And that, I think, is going to affect him a little bit as these games get rolling, because he's taking a lot of really difficult shots, and other guys are benefiting from him, his gravity and his passing, in getting easy shots, and that benefits the team overall. But I do wonder if they could find a way to get some easy shots for him. Now, I won't mention right away Bradley Beal. If he was playing, he could handle the ball a little bit. Because here's the reality of who Devin Booker is. One of the best on-ball players in the NBA, but also one of the best off-ball players in the NBA. And because of the way that Kevin Durant operates on the ball, he doesn't really maximize the stuff that Devin Booker does off the ball in the same way. Devin Booker can stand there and be one pass away. He's going to get great shots at that, and it's going to be great for the offense overall. But it's not quite the same as when Chris Paul was dribbling it at the top of the key. Devin Booker was running around 2 or 3 screens, finding a way to get wide open from the mid post, and then obviously the offense flows from there. And here's some stats to back that up. Assisted buckets for Devin Booker last year, 45%. This is a really high percentage for him, actually, I thought. 45% of his shots last year were assisted.
The vast majority of those, I bet, are coming from Chris Paul. I don't know if you have that specifically, but just logically. 1
point a game. I actually looked it up. I don't have that in front of me. He's actually the same amount of assists that he's getting from Kevin Durant this year, but on completely different types of offense. This year, that's down to 34%. And just an example, catch and shoots, he had 12% of his total attempts last year were catch and shoots. Now it's down to 9%. I think he still will get a lot of catch and shoots this year. That's not going to be entirely different. Elbow touches for him.
Plummet.
1 per game last year. It was more than that. We know tracking stats aren't perfect, but it's down to basically half a possession per game this year. He's getting very little of those elbow touches. The difference is overall touches for him went from 64 touches per game. We know the touch stats for Devin Booker, one of the most efficient per touch players in the NBA, to 80 touches per game this year. So the overall touches for him have dramatically increased from 64 to 80. But now he's the one dribbling at the top of the key. We've seen it. The offense actually is a lot slower since he's joined the team after his injury. Is something that surprised me. He's the one starting the play. He's the one calling out the play. He's the one dictating the offense at the top of the key, being the traditional point guard that the Suns do not have. Of course, that's what he's doing right now.
And the result is that in very limited sample size, so we'll see where it stabilizes in 5 or 10 games, but he's averaging basically double the assists of last year on a per 36-minute basis without dramatically increasing his turnovers. 10.4 assists to 3.6 turnovers per 36. That's remarkable and shows, I think, what we've suspected for a while with regards to Book's facilitating abilities, but really just him maximizing it in a new way. However, to your point, he doesn't get to run the same elbow sets. He doesn't get to run off those pin downs and catch the ball where he's really comfortable in the mid-range and just rise up for a one-dribble pull-up. So he's not going to get the same number of easy assisted buckets. What do you do about that? I'm not sure there's a way you can internally handle it with the current personnel you have on this team, outside of obviously just hoping that Bradley Beal is actually back in 3 weeks. We'll cover that in a little bit. But, then there's just the external question of, how bad do you want to trade for a point guard? Like, is that what you're advocating for, that the Suns really need to find a traditional point guard by any means necessary?
Okay, so 2 things to that. Is there a way to do it with the players that the Suns currently have? Maybe some more Jordan Goodwin minutes with Devin Booker, letting him dictate the beginning of the possession, letting Devin Booker catch the ball in different spots, which would push Kevin Durant off the ball a little bit more if Kevin Durant's on the floor at those times. Obviously, easier to do that with Kevin Durant off the floor, but the spacing for Devin Booker will be a lot better if Kevin Durant's on the floor, right? So we're talking about, I guess the problem I'm trying to solve right now is Devin Booker is taking a lot of really difficult shots. Is there a way to get Devin Booker a few easier shots per game? The number one way would be obviously adding a great point guard to this team to help out in the minutes where, they just need an extra guy that can dribble and pass. That would solve it. I'm still advocating to that in some sense. I think it's really difficult to find someone who, and if Nassir Little continues to play well, we'll talk about him. It's good for the Suns right now while he's playing well. It's also good for the Suns around the trade deadline if they end up saying that they want to move on from him, because his trade value can only be boosted if he plays well. And if they really think they need a point guard to finish the last stretch of the season, then obviously Nassir Little's the guy that's like the obvious trade candidate.
Yeah, and that's nothing against Nassir. I do think he's legitimately been awesome.
Contract.
He's just the most flippable contract. So if they're looking for that specifically, that skill set, then he's the guy you move.
And maybe he plays well enough to make himself indispensable. Like, he's been pretty good in the last 2 games, and maybe he finds a way to really crack that rotation permanently.
There's maybe another option to get Booker some easier shots too, which you kind of already hit on, but you didn't at the same time, which is
go ahead.
Just maybe push the pace. I don't hold it against him because he's returning from a calf injury and he already has such an offensive burden placed upon him. But I found it interesting, the Suns right now, for as good as they are offensively in the way that we're talking about them, they're 24th in transition offense in the NBA as of today.
No.
Their half-court offense is humming. Their transition offense is pretty bad. And I think it would be interesting to try and find ways to solve that part of the puzzle as well.
Yeah, it's tough because you can switch the ball over to Eric Gordon, switch the ball over to Grayson Allen for a few possessions, let Nurk cook on those screens for Devin Booker at the elbows, and he'll get wide open because Nurkic is a great screener, and then you can run the offense there. But if they just kind of sit there and dare Grayson Allen to drive, dare Eric Gordon to drive, they have to. They have to drive, right? So now you're relying on your offense with those 2 guys driving to the rim and just sort of rolling the dice on what happens at the end of that. And so far they've been okay, but to build a steady appetite of that into the offense that the Suns are currently running would be a little bit tougher. You need to have a guy who can sort of probe and penetrate a little bit while drawing the defense out for Devin Booker to find ways to get easier shots. And overall, I think if you're worried about Devin Booker based on last night's game, we're recording this the night after the last Utah game, I wouldn't say to worry about that. But I do think that there are solutions to find a little bit easier offense for him. And that's him playing off the ball a little bit and then catching it in different spots. Because right now, starting at the top of the key over and over and over and over again, he will still be amazing. Don't get me wrong. But that's a lot of hard work for him to score from that position over and over and over again. You know, it's the same thing with Devin Booker benefiting KD. They have to find ways to flip that around and have other guys on the team benefit Devin Booker. And I hope to see it soon because I do think it's something that is definitely possible. Let's talk about Bradley Beal. I know it's sad. I know it's not fun. But Bradley Beal, it was announced right after we recorded our last podcast, which is a tradition for us, and that Suns news comes out later. He's out for at least 3 weeks. And look, it's a really tough situation for the Suns to be in right now. I mentioned it in talking about the conversation and finding ways to get Devin Booker more easy shots. Put Bradley Beal on the ball. Now they're guarding away at the top of the key. Devin Booker comes flying around an elbow screen. He's wide open from mid-range. That's going to be great. 3 weeks is, it sounds like, based on this report, the minimum at this point. He's going to be reevaluated in 3 weeks. And back injuries are no joke. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, Sam?
I don't know if my reaction is going to be a popular one. I don't know if my reaction is a logical one either. It's more so what I do to protect my own mental sanity, which is when they tell us 3 weeks, in my head, that means like 15 weeks. I don't know. Like, yeah. I have no idea if when he's going to be back. I have no inside information, obviously, but I'm prepared for the possibility based on some horror stories in the NBA in recent years with back injuries that I've prepared myself for the worst. I expect nothing and then hope to be pleasantly surprised. And that's just my approach. That's just what I'm doing. Like, if you're with that, you're with that. If you're not, okay, like, you can just assume that he's going to be back in 3 weeks. That's fine, too. I have some doubts. How do you feel?
It really sucks really bad. I would feel different if it was like any other normal 3-week injury that we've heard about time and time again. It's just rare that back injuries are not like sort of pervasive. I actually think Michael Porter Jr. is an example of it kind of fixing itself. He's been pretty healthy for a while, and you know that could change at any moment, but that can change for any player at any moment. Somebody like Ben Simmons, it's hard not to bring up these two guys in particular when talking about back injuries. Both guys have missed entire seasons due to back injuries and specifically nerve damage in the back, which is something that Shams Charania mentioned when it comes to Bradley Beal's injury. It's disc related, and that disc has caused potential nerve damage in his back. So it's all kind of bad news, and it's all really sad and depressing. And I mentioned it. Mm-hmm.
It's still speculation, and we
don't know. We don't know. But 3 weeks still sucks. It's possible he's back. Or in 3 weeks they say he's ramping up to return.
But now
he's good to go.
Now that I've given myself this arbitrary 15-week timeline, if he is back in 3 weeks, I'll be ecstatic. It'll be great. It'll like make my month. It'll make the start of 2024 really, really awesome. And I'll reiterate what I've always believed, which is, look, I don't really think the Suns can. I know our role players are better than last year's role players, but I don't really think the Suns can win a championship if Bradley Beal just doesn't play at all. Like, let's say he's out for the next 18 months, like Ben Simmons in the worst case. But I don't think we're there. As long as he can be ready for the playoffs, we're in business. I want to develop as much continuity as we possibly can before that time, and so. And put less of a burden upon KD's shoulders and Booker's shoulders and less minutes for those guys and all that. But theoretically, if we missed him for a long time, as long as he could be back for the playoffs and KD and Book could lead us to home court advantage in the Western Conference, which I think they could do with some of the players around them, and it would bolster their respective MVP cases as well, I think we'd be okay. I just don't know if this is going to be 3 weeks or a long process, but I'm bracing.
Yeah. It's tough to do any sort of analysis about this. We'll keep up in this conversation as the weeks roll on, and we'll see where we're at 3 weeks from now. And yeah, we'll give updates then. Fingers crossed. Light a candle if you believe in that. But Nassir Little is the other guy I wanted to talk about. Obviously we could talk about anyone on the team, but this is just something that's happened over the course of the last few games. First of all, he checked in second half of the first Utah game, immediately hit a three. And it seems like he does that every once in a while where he just checks in, plays pretty well immediately. And then played good defense throughout that game. Came in the second Utah game in the first half. I think Yuta Watanabe was out, so that helped him to ensure that he was getting early minutes and not, sort of a, just a reaction to the way the game has been going, which is how he's gotten a lot of minutes before that. He played right away and then came in, had a great block, had a three, hit a great dunk where he flew through the air and jammed it in transition with both hands. And he's just playing really well right now, and I would say that he's earning minutes. And I think as the youngest player on the team, basically, that's getting minutes right now, he has the most potential to improve dramatically over the course of the season. And to see him earn minutes this early could really pay dividends for the Suns long term, I think.
Yeah, him and Jordan Goodwin, I think the other candidate is like guys we talked about at the start of the season who are technically 23, 24 years old. Maybe, you have something in there where they start out 10th or 11th or on the fringes of the rotation and they work their way into a bigger role as the season goes on. I don't know if I've necessarily seen that potential out of Goodwin. I think he's been up and down throughout this year. He's had some good stretches for sure.
At some point of the season, I'm going to bring back that we should try starting Jordan Goodwin with the guys at some point, because his defense is absurd, man.
Yeah,
it's absurd.
I wouldn't necessarily mind it. Nassir, I like the fact that you mentioned just his athletic pop. We don't have many leapers on this team. Yeah. We've mentioned it before. This is not something he fixes, so it's not exactly perfect with what I'm talking about. But just the fact that Nurkic can't catch an alley-oop. So
he can't jump.
He can't jump at all.
Yeah.
So they go to KD at center in that first overtime, and then you're talking about the fact that, well, the only offense around that is KD draws two to the ball, and then you put shooters around him because no one can cut, no one can. I mean, if it's just Eric Gordon and Grayson Allen, no one can cut, no one can dunk, right? You get some of these other guys on the floor, some of these actual athletes, and yes, I'm going to bring up Chimezie Metu again because he can do it. I swear he can do it. But Nassir Little, in the actual minutes that he's earned over the past couple games, also proving that he can cut and he can dunk and he can just be a high-flying, effort-giving athlete, which is kind of a big deal. If he can shoot 35% on his wide-open catch-and-shoot threes, that just might be enough.
Massive. For
the rest of his game to click into place and for him to earn a solid spot in the rotation.
I mean, that would be massive because right now they are leaving him wide open. And look, the Suns put you in a position to gamble on guys like that. And Nassir, who actually has had a pretty good career three-point shooting percentage, or at least he had a good season last season, is a better way to put that. So, you could make the case that maybe they shouldn't leave him wide open, but right now they are. And I think he's shooting about 33% right now from three. So obviously that needs to go up for him to really earn minutes long term. But the idea for Nassir actually would be that he makes enough at the beginning of the season that they really start guarding him later in the season because that can make a big difference. Nice thing about him, too, is he has obviously the athletic hops. He can jump. But also he's got some speed on the way to the rim. He had a really nice finish in that first Utah game where he just attacked the closeout, got all the way to the rim and put it up with his left hand on the left side of the rim from the right side. And, if he can do stuff like that consistently, that matters. Look, three-point shooting matters. Getting to the rim matters. But really for him, because of the way this team is built, he has to play great defense. He has to get deflections. He's got long arms. And he has to guard guys that are bigger than him. Because when he comes in, they could put him on point guards, but there are going to be times where he's guarding guys like Karl Anthony Towns or Lauri Markkanen on possessions, and he has to play big in those scenarios as well. So if he can be that guy, that would be huge for the Suns. Like I said, not just for this team this year, maybe he becomes indispensable, but also if they end up needing to make a trade at the trade deadline, it's hard to not talk about him as that potential trade candidate, so get used to it, regardless of how he's playing, because if the Suns can solve a problem by trading him, they might do that.
He's their only contract in that range, remotely. Maybe Grayson Allen. But Grayson Allen is too important for them to really
I think he's become a bit indispensable for this team right now with his 50% three-point shooting.
Unless you were getting some massive piece in return, but he's also an expiring contract, so it has to be Nassir Little. It's not anyone else.
Exactly.
Outside of the trade portion, just in terms of Nassir's game, I'll say everything we just said about him also probably can apply to Keita Bates-Diop, deserves a shout out for his continued good play over the past couple games.
He is the reason they could do small ball 5 in that first overtime.
Yeah.
There was really nobody else that could step in and do that because the Jazz they basically play 2 power forwards. They don't really play with a center in that they play John Collins at center basically. And they need someone bigger to be able to keep up with Lauri Markkanen or switch on to John Collins at times since Lauri can dribble. And really the Suns don't have anybody that can do that is into center besides Keita Bates-Diop at this point. He's the guy you would trust the most with being able to guard big. So it was huge for him to come in and play those minutes, and he really helped out in those small ball 5.
There's one more guy who you might be able to trust to guard both 4s and 5s on this roster.
Who's that? KD?
Well, okay, yeah, KD. I was not going to waste another opportunity.
Okay.
I was not going to waste another opportunity to shove Chimezie Metu into the conversation, who will play eventually. But
yeah, and they'll probably treat him offensively exactly the way they treat Keita Bates-Diop. And
yeah, I mean, to be honest,
Chimezie Metu might be better offensively, at least attacking the rim. But Keita Bates-Diop, I mentioned it I think we did this on playback, but the thing about Keita Bates-Diop is he can attack closeouts. He really can, and he's pretty good at it, but he doesn't pass when he does it. Mm-hmm. The ball's going up when he attacks closeouts every single time. Probably would be the same for Chimezie Metu, although he's made some nice passes in preseason.
Yeah, but he's not going to get a lot of assists. Keita Bates-Diop also pretty efficient score in the post. We haven't seen it at all from him in Phoenix. He hasn't gotten any opportunities, but it's something we just took note of that was in his skill set in San Antonio. He has more touch around the rim than you realize. And when you look at this team, honestly, you look at this team in general, I just have written down here also, we're 4th in cutting offense right now, 1.4 points per possession, 4th in the NBA. And a lot of it is Drew Eubanks, I'm not going to lie. Like he's a big portion of just finishing whatever around the rim, getting dump-offs. It's certainly not Yusuf Nurkic. But the other part of it is, Okogie, KBD, just the Nassir Little a little bit, just the big wings on this
Grayson
team.
Allen is capable too.
Well. Yeah,
they all cut at good times too. They're well coached when it comes to cutting. I think number 1 in spot ups. I don't know if you were looking at the same stats as me, but the Suns are number 1 in spot up attempts, and that to me is a KD in the post offensive number there because the ball just swings to a wide open spot up shooter when he's in the post. It's really easy to get those shots out of it.
A little bit of KD in the post, a little bit of Book's drives too in some of his games.
Yeah, it's both.
But yeah.
I'm going to spring something on you a little bit here. It's not major or anything, but do you find this team to be frustrating to watch? We're talking about good things mostly, but because they're on a win streak. But
we're 7-6. I don't find. Are you talking about like what iteration of the team, like the healthy or the rough? Well, obviously the KD and just no other star version of the Suns that we were watching until a few games ago. Yeah, I found them frustrating to watch. It's getting better now that we've added Book into the equation. Do I still wish there was some more creativity offensively rather than just relying on the innate skill sets of our superstars? Yes.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I struggle with, because I've thought about it, I struggle with how exactly you're going to achieve that just based on the personnel. Like, in my mind, you need Bradley Beal to unlock the true, enormous creative potential of this offense. Yeah. And yes, clearly the offense could be even better and not just rely on making a bunch of spot up threes. Or just draw 2 to the ball, kick out to a shooter, 1 pass away. You need Bradley Beal for the other stuff to kind of click into place. And but unless you have ideas, which I'm more than willing to hear, I'm not sure exactly where else they can go.
I looked through a bunch of team stats today. A lot. Basically everyone that you could find. All the tracking stats, all the team stats that are advanced stats, all of the ones that are just traditional stats, all of the ones on the NBA website, basically. And a lot of the stats I look at and I go, man, the Suns should be better than they are, which is good. But I think the ones that stood out to me, turnovers, they're still bottom 6, I think, in turnovers right now. Turnover percentage is the one that you want to look at because, as far as turnovers per game, that's really affected by the number of possessions. So pace has an impact on it. So not great in turnovers. I think that is really frustrating. The other one that stood out is the at-rim defense. I talked about it with Eric Gordon, players shooting 100% on Eric Gordon at the rim at a certain point, over 10 games into the season. That was the stat.
Where's
Nassir Little's not good in that. Nurkic has players shooting slightly under their averages at the rim. It's like
great job.
He's doing fine.
That's all I ask of him. If
Eubanks is good,
let them be average. And
Eubanks is like 7% under their averages. It's a traditional backup center on the Suns stat at this point in the James Jones era. Yuta Watanabe is surprisingly good, one of the best on the Suns as far as at rim defense, because he just jumps up into them and gets hit in the chest every time. Does foul on those a lot, but it's probably how he got hurt. Devin Booker's okay. Kevin Durant's good in that stat. Everyone else is kind of bad. The Suns do play kind of small, so this is part of it, right? Eric Gordon, not good in that stat. Nassir Little, not good in that stat. Grayson Allen, just kind of mediocre in that stat. But I think they're just letting guys get to the rim a little bit too much over and over, and then when they're at the rim, not perfect defense. Nurkic is fine, but anytime Nurkic is like on an island against a guard, he's not fast enough. The Suns have to do their best job to keep him out of that position.
Let's circle back to the initial question, which is, you asked me, does this team frustrate me? So, I think mostly my answer is no, but to go to you, are they frustrating you offensively or defensively? It seems like you're focusing more on the defensive portion of it.
I think there's two. I think defense is when I looked at a lot of the stats, defense is the big thing.
They're worse at defense. Literally,
clutch,
their statistics are worse on defense.
Clutch offense, not great so far this season. I think they're shooting in the 40s%, so 40-something percent, 44% maybe in clutch play this season, which is not great. It's not the worst in the NBA at this point, but it's just not really good. But I think the things that frustrate people the most, at rim defense, some of the clutch play,
rebounding,
turnovers, and then offensive rebounds by the other team. Yeah. They're 27th in opponent offensive rebounds on the season so far. Mm-hmm. These are things that are possible to clean up, but they're playing even smaller now that Devin Booker is back with the starting lineup the way it is. And to be honest, I think there's a world where that offensive rebound stat doesn't change, and that can be a little bit frustrating. I will mention this, though. They've played the Jazz 3 times. The Jazz are number 1 in offensive rebounds percentage.
Are
in
they
the
seriously?
NBA.
Yes. I actually can't believe that the Knicks aren't number 1 in that stat, because all anyone's talking about online, at least from the Knicks sphere, is how awesome how godly Mitchell
he really
Robinson
has been incredible. Yeah, no, he has.
They're probably number 2.
Yeah, they're probably up there. But at the time that I looked at that stat, the Jazz were number 1, and I think they even mentioned it on the broadcast, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's impacted that stat a lot. They've already played the Jazz 3 times, kind of crazy. But yeah, I think that will have an impact on it just playing other teams. But they're playing small, so that's going to be a little bit frustrating. So I think they are a little bit frustrating in that they get big leads and then they let teams back into it. That's really what it is that frustrates people, right? They score 80 points in the first half, and then all of a sudden they're down by 3 halfway through the third quarter. And that's frustrating. So, I just think for them, they have to have time to get used to each other, to get playing better. Devin Booker's barely been with this team. It's a new starting lineup. You mentioned they've only played 86 possessions together so far in the season. A lot of the things will get worked out as they play more together. But I think there is a little bit, for a team that's above 500, I think they are a bit frustrating to watch at times.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see all of that. For me, it's the stuff that frustrates me is KD dribbling the ball off his foot, and a lot of the turnovers are kind of just coming from a place.
The lazy passes from Grayson Allen or Eric Gordon.
Sure.
There's a few of those every game, I feel like.
Sure. And the defensive rebounding portion is just, we expected this. We mentioned this a million times, all right? I feel like I mentioned this a million times in the summer.
Yeah.
If you're Keita Bates-Diop or Yuta Watanabe, and you have a 7'1" wingspan, as both of those guys more or less do, you just got to be better. If you're one of these big wings playing up to the 4 position in the Suns depth chart, you just have to be better, because Nurk is fine as a rebounder. Eubanks is fine as a rebounder, but that's one guy on the floor at a time. They're boxing out one person. They can only do so much with their body. So
yeah.
Our forwards just have to be better.
Yeah, I agree, and we'll see how it ends up going. I was just curious how I've seen that from Suns fans across the internet at this point, and I kind of agree. There are times where I'm watching the game where I have to like shut off the expectations part of my brain, regardless of how big the lead is, in order to not get annoyed.
Yeah, I mean, again, I want Book to get easier shots, and I want KD to get easier shots. They amaze me on a nightly basis with the difficulty of the looks that they're making, but I want them to get even easier looks, and I think that's really going to click into place when Beal is here, and they can run off some more screens. Until then, it's going to be difficult.
Really, if they just find a way to cut out the turnovers, they win. They have a better record. They win every game that they've won so far by 15 instead of 5. You know, that's I think the biggest difference, and they don't have to worry about like godly shot making by Kevin Durant in order to win. We're going to listen to some voicemails in a little bit, but I wanted to mention DeAndre Ayton is where the Suns are playing against him on Tuesday or tomorrow, the day that we record this today. For most people that are listening to this podcast, we're doing that game on playback. By the way, join us, playback.tv/the timeline, especially if you watch on NBA League Pass. You can watch with us or listen along if you watch here locally on local TV in Phoenix. But how do you feel about the return of DeAndre Ayton?
I mean, look, I hope people don't boo him or whatever, you know, like I think
that would be weird. I've found him to be the most frustrating player I've ever watched. I would not boo him.
I mean, I saw a Reddit post about it earlier today, right? And I saw basically a lot of highly upvoted comments that insinuated that people will boo him.
Yeah, I think that's possible.
And that they should was also the tone of, and that's just one corner of the internet. That's just one thread. I personally would not do that.
No, I wouldn't either.
The Valley-oop is one of the greatest plays we've had in our franchise history. It'll go on highlight reels for a very long time. He had other great moments here. People know that, or at least they should know if they listen to this podcast for a while. We've been very critical of DeAndre Ayton, both of us. He was far from my favorite player as a Phoenix Sun. Doesn't mean I hate the guy. Doesn't mean I'd feel the need to boo him when he's in town tomorrow. Now, if you ask me if I think he's actually a good basketball player, that's a different question. I don't think he's coming close to living up to that max contract.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, that's a different story.
Yeah, Portland fans have an interesting relationship with him already. I think a lot of them are saying it was a good trade for us, but they're not factoring in that the Suns also got Nassir Little, Grayson Allen in that trade, and I think that they could have been on the Portland Trailblazers instead. It's just an interesting situation for them. I think it's weird that there are some Suns fans that get mad if Suns fans bring up DeAndre Ayton's name at all. Like, we can't talk about him. This dude was the only number 1 pick in Suns history, and like obviously has been a massive part of some really important seasons for the Suns. And then in a hugely controversial trade at the beginning of this season, he also had times where he was really great. He had times where he was suspended for using a diuretic, a time where he didn't go into a Game 7 and, you know, played well in the playoffs at times, terribly in playoffs at the times. There's like all this weird sports trauma associated with him for Suns fans. It's okay to talk about him. You know, you're going to have to talk about him.
Everyone's got an opinion on DeAndre Ayton. You can't. He's just one of those controversial figures. You can't avoid it. Here's my favorite DeAndre Ayton stat of the year, 12 games in. He has 9 free throw attempts on the season.
It's worse than I could have ever imagined.
You know, and people like Portland fans, again, I feel so bad for them because they're already making the excuses of, well, Scoot's not playing and Simons isn't playing and we don't have guards who can get him the ball. It's like they just don't know what they got themselves into.
I mean, that would yes. I mean, that would obviously help, though. They're right in some respects.
Yeah, it would get him from 9 free throw attempts to maybe 18 on the season.
Yeah,
you know where 9 would rank on the Suns roster? It would put him 10th. Oh. It would put him 10th on this year's Suns roster in free throw attempts, just ahead of Yuta Watanabe and behind Keita Bates-Diop. Bradley Beal in 3 games has 16 free throw attempts.
Yeah, I mean Nurkic had 9 in the first Jazz game. He's
the same offensive player that he always was, except now he doesn't have Chris Paul, and it can be tough to watch.
The clip of him setting fake screens was so funny. It really looked like a weird NBA 2K glitch where guys were screening invisible players somehow. It's tough. It's a tough situation, a really tough season for anybody playing on that Portland team. You know, I think Jeremy Grant's already pretty checked out as well. They're awful. And I say that knowing that the Suns have to play them, and there's always a chance you can lose to any team. but it would be a disaster if the Suns lost to them. I'm knocking on wood so people don't get mad at me. But I think it will be interesting to see what happens, how Devin Booker reacts to DeAndre Ayton, how DeAndre Ayton reacts to the Suns, and just to see how they play overall. We know DeAndre Ayton is capable of great games every once in a while. He could have a great one against the Suns. He could have a terrible one because the pressure's up high, and the Suns need to win. If you care at all about in-season tournament games, Tuesday is an in-season tournament game. Yeah, why not? It's fun to care. Friday against Memphis is an in-season tournament game. The Suns also have a back-to-back game on Wednesday against the Golden State Warriors. But either way, we're going to be watching that one on playback, so join us if you want to see our analysis in real time on, obviously, the Suns more importantly, but even DeAndre Ayton and how he's been playing on the Portland Trail Blazers, which I think in most cases people would consider a disappointment, to say the least. Any other thoughts on that, or any thoughts on Golden State or Memphis? The Suns really, have an opportunity to win all three of those if they play really well, but no guarantees.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is like this, you couldn't have picked. Theoretically, if Beal does only miss 3 weeks, and knock on wood, we'll see if it happens, but like you couldn't have picked a better part of the schedule because, you have a chance here to rattle off a nice winning streak. I mean, imagine at the end of these 3 games, with the way we were talking about this team a couple weeks ago, if they end up 10-6, that would be pretty good, but a lot of work before we get there.
Yep. All right, let's take another quick break right now. When we come back, we'll listen to some more voicemails that you, people who listen to this podcast, left us. We'll be right back in a minute to listen to those. All right, thank you to everyone who left us a voicemail on our voicemail box, 480-420-6553. Save that number in your phone. Give us a call after games, particularly the day before we record a podcast would be ideal. Leave us your name, about a 30-second to a minute at most message, and we'll try to listen to as many as possible on each of our podcasts. Once again, that's 480-420-6553. Sam, you ready to listen to some?
I'm so ready.
All right, here we go. Let's listen to them right now.
Mike, Sam, my name's Dixon, big fan of the pod, been listening since the beginning. I am curious if you two have ever tried to get Eddie Johnson on the podcast. I just think he's the GOAT when it comes to commentating and will be a pretty awesome special guest. I'm curious if you guys have ever spoken with him or reached out. Thanks.
All right, thanks for listening.
Thank you. We would thank you guys by name, but you're not leaving your names.
Yeah.
We have not reached out to Eddie in the past. We should.
Yeah,
I'm down.
I feel like he's really busy. He's like one of those guys that he has a radio show. He calls all the games. I think he has a podcast now too. So
he does. Yeah. He does a lot of stuff in local media, but we'll try and tap some context. I mean, I know we've had Leander on, we've had K-Ray on. We should have K-Ray on again, by the way. Yeah. At some point, we just got to reach out, and we'll leave it in his hands.
All right, let's listen to another one here.
All right, I was wondering what you guys thought about ways that the Suns can improve the most organically in the absence of any sort of major trade for a point guard, or just what is the areas in which the Suns can mesh just through time to gain chemistry in the season without any sort of major GM front office moves. Thanks, guys. Keep killing it.
It's a really great question, I think, here, in that obviously they can make trades. I think there's one obvious answer to this, Sam. Bradley Beal comes back and is healthy and plays well.
Yeah, that's a cop-out answer. So
yeah,
you're right, but it's a cop-out answer. I think just turnovers. I mean, look, maybe Bradley Beal coming back is going to lead to fewer turnovers too. Maybe it leads to more turnovers. I don't know. But I think turnovers is like statistically the thing that you hope as chemistry improves with this team. Right now, they're what, 25th in turnovers?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
If they get to league average by the end of the season, who's stopping them?
Right.
In turnovers. Like,
yeah, no,
both. Because offensively, they'll be better. And defensively, they'll be giving up fewer transition points. So it'll help them on both ends. That's how critical turnovers are.
Yeah.
I struggle to see another area. Like, people will complain about rebounding and other little things, but it's all comes down to turnovers for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Frank Vogel has some say in this as well, in that finding the right lineups that work for the right scenarios. This is a brand new team, 11 new players, a brand new coach who didn't coach the team last year. There's a lot of playing around with this team that he has the ability to do, because these guys at the end of the bench, the minimum contract guys, that there's like 7 or 8 of them or whatever, different guys will work better in different scenarios, and sometimes you can't really predict what that's going to be until you try it out. So over time, finding the right lineups against the right teams will make a big difference. But also, just like you said, when it comes to turnovers, chemistry is the big thing, and that's these guys getting used to each other, understanding where they like the ball, understanding how to get guys open. Like we talked about at the beginning of this episode, finding ways to get Devin Booker some easier shots. Those are the types of things that come with time. So I think that's the type of thing that we'll see over time with this team. Let's listen to another one.
Hey, so this is Ty here. I'm just wondering, Sam, specifically, what it is like to be the enemy number one of all of teenage KD Twitter, and how accomplished you feel at being able to do that with only one tweet that doesn't even mention him as in any way negatively. Thanks.
Oh my God.
Wait, can I say something too in your defense in some ways?
Go ahead.
People who make their entire online personality about one single NBA player are not good for discourse about basketball in general. That it's just so hard to talk about things. Having said that, we should all be on the same team here. We should all be on the same side here. I think what you said in particular was really innocuous, and really, in some ways, they just don't know you, and that you can have some overreactions in the middle of a game sometimes that aren't as serious as possible.
Look, I gave them the opportunity, right? Like I put out, for the context, I put a tweet out there like a week ago. Book was going off, saying like KD is, I think, paraphrasing, but KD is really the second best player on our team. This is crazy, or something like that.
You said, you didn't even say KD. You said Devin Booker's really the best player on our team.
Or I said crazy. Devin Booker's really the best. Yeah, sure. I mean,
which is as innocuous as it gets, really.
They mean the same thing. But I had no idea the Pandora's box that I was opening through saying this online, because previously I hadn't been exposed to KD Stan Twitter. I mean, I just don't think I had many interactions with them. Like, I knew about, Chris Paul had some stans when he.
Yeah, but they're all really smart, nice, like older people who have watched the NBA for like 20 years.
I had only positive interactions with Chris Paul stans while he was here for 3 years. And look, I respect the fact that Kevin Durant is a legend and one of the 10 to 12 best players in NBA history, maybe 15 at most. No disrespect towards KD. This was funny. I mean, I even appreciate some of the Discord. I promise I wasn't trying to troll, by the way. But like some of them afterwards now are like calling me goofy and stuff, like in quote tweets.
Right. Yeah, you'll never be accepted by them now.
Which I think is fine. Like if you call me goofy over something I say over about Kevin Durant, like I think that's funny. To be honest, like
we're goofy all the time. That's true.
A few of them have called me slurs, and those are the ones that I blocked. But like for the most part, there's a line to there's a line. So I feel accomplished. Thanks for the message, Ty.
Congratulations. I'm really proud of you. Here we go.
Slim Reaper's new nickname is the Deep Reaper in Salt Lake for hitting those deep threes. Go Suns.
I don't know if I like that. Thanks for the message, by the way. Deep Reaper makes me feel weird. Yeah.
I was gonna say it makes my mind wander.
But boy, was Kevin Durant amazing in those games. Here we go.
This is not from the Discord. I'm glad we got a couple of wins in, but my question is, can you have Country K on the pod so I can listen to a Sun-centric version of First Take?
Okay.
Just, for my own enjoyment and comedy.
This one requires some explanation, Sam. This is very Discord lore for us, but we have a Discord for our Patreon members where we constantly argue about players online, and I here's the reality. I occasionally argue with one member named Country K, but really the reality of me and him, we agree on like 95% of things. And there's just 5% that, honestly, it was more DeAndre Ayton than anything else. So there wouldn't be that much to talk about with him. But yeah, I mean, that could be very fun. Any thoughts on this?
Next time there's a big beef, and it will happen.
Yeah, we'll figure
at
it
some
out.
point this season. We'll
Yeah.
bring him on.
He'll have to call and leave us a voicemail.
Maybe a Patreon pod. Maybe not a main feed pod. We'll see though.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to all the patrons who are on Discord. We have a lot of fun on there. That place is active literally 24 hours a day. It's crazy. All right, next one here.
Hi, Mike and Sam. Thanks for a wonderful podcast. I have a question for you. It's a bit of a fun one. With regards to the Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and DeAndre Ayton trades, there seems to be 12 players that have exchanged teams during this. I'd love you to do a draft of those 12 players from best to worst that still remain. Those 12 players are Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Goodwin, Nurkic, Allen, Nassir Little, they're players for Phoenix, and players that have gone out from Phoenix are Bridges, Johnson, CP3, Ayton, Kamara, and Shamet. I would love you to do a draft from 1 to 12 of those 12 players. Have a good day.
What a great question.
First of all, this is our first Aussie message, so thank you.
I think so, yeah.
It's the first international message that we've gotten as part of this voicemail. So that's awesome. Okay, so I mean, are we going to do this?
Draft? Yeah, I don't think it'll be that hard.
Take that long? I just have to remember who the play, because he said them, but I have to remember.
I got them all here too. I mean, number one is obvious, right? Kevin Durant, best player.
Number one's KD.
I think the question right now is Bradley Beal number 2?
Bradley Beal is number 2 in a vacuum.
I think we can't do this in a vacuum. Mikal Bridges might have leapfrogged him right here because he plays every game.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Actually, you're probably right. Are we doing this like fantasy style, like who you would want based on their reliability for each game? So KD 1, Mikal 2.
By the way,
3?
Nets terrible. Mikal not allowed to shoot shots on that team anymore. It's gonna be fascinating to see what happens with that team, but yeah.
He's still having a good season.
He's still good.
He's still a good player.
I thought the keys were going to be in his hand this season.
I kind of never bought into
Cam Thomas shooting every shot on that team that he wants.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of never bought into. I just didn't see Mikal having like a 26 point per game season in like a full season.
It's just I think it's possible, but they still would not be good. But look, he'd be an excellent third best player on the team, which is
all right.
What he was for a while here.
So he's number 2. Beal is number 3.
Yeah, I think so, because you're gonna say Beal or Chris Paul, right? At that point, and Chris Paul's
going to say
Chris Paul's playing. That's the thing, but like at some point he won't be, I think.
Yeah.
And then probably DeAndre Ayton at that point, right? Well, Chris Paul would be the next one, and then DeAndre Ayton or Cam Johnson. Who would you rather have?
I honestly don't know how Cam Johnson is playing this year. What are his stats?
I have no idea. I haven't watched much of the Nets, but just from your perspective of who that player is or those players are.
I think I'd rather have Cam Johnson.
I think I would too. Yeah, I hate to
DeAndre Ayton.
People are going to get mad, but
I don't care. Cam Johnson. They're not on the Suns anymore.
Who would you rather have? DeAndre Ayton. This is terrible. Right before we play it,
or Grayson Allen.
Or Grayson Allen. Yeah,
for number 5. I think I'd rather have Grayson Allen.
All right, we'll say Grayson Allen, then DeAndre Ayton, and then Nurkic. Right? I think would probably.
Oh, there's. Well, maybe I'd rather have Nurkic.
Okay, if you want to say that, I think
maybe
that's
I'd
fair.
rather have Shamet. Maybe I'd put Ayton 12th. No, I'm kidding. We're getting a little ridiculous here. All right, I'm gonna go Grayson Allen 5, Ayton 6, Nurkic 7.
Okay, and then
I still feel
we
like
have
are we leaving people
Kamara,
out?
Allen, Allen, and Shamet.
No, we already did Allen.
Okay, yes. Okay,
Little,
so,
Kamara, Goodwin, Little, and Shamet.
There you go.
Okay, so that would be probably Goodwin, then Little, then Kamara, just because he's young, and Shamet last.
I don't know, man. I might put Kamara before Little.
Oh yeah, just because of the potential. I mean, he's
just a more fascinating prospect. I think.
Okay, that's the other part. Actually, we didn't cover this in the bit about Portland like 20 minutes ago. Toumani Kamara's starting games for them.
He's like a top 10 rookie so far this year.
Yeah, I mean he's not very good offensively, but he can do a lot of things.
Incredibly versatile defender who is a beast in transition. So, that's pretty valuable. Look, we made the comparison to Larry Nance Jr. on this podcast. I'm going to stand by that. I still think it's a pretty good one as far as what he could potentially be. Excellent question. Thanks for sending us that one and listening. Let's listen to some more.
Hey guys, this is Rogue from Discord. I was wondering, why do you think the offense just stops when Booker's not on the floor? Thanks. Love y'all.
Thanks, Rogue. Rogue's on the Discord as well.
Wait, can we mention the fact of what the what this app that I'm looking at thinks he
the
said based
transcription?
on the transcription, which says, why does the offense stop when Hooker's not on the floor instead of Booker?
The transcription on Google Voice is not very good, guys. Why do you think? By the way, when Booker's on the floor, the offense is like a 125.8 offensive rating right now, which is, that would be like all-time good offensive rating. The only team even close as far as overall team is the Indiana Pacers, who are absurd offensively so far this year. So to say that the offense stops when Devin Booker is off the floor, I don't think it does, because KD kind of holds it down. But the difference is palpable. There's a massive difference because Devin Booker makes that big of a difference.
And of course, when both of them are off the floor, it becomes catastrophic. The basic answer is no one to drive the ball. I know KD does drive the ball, but not as much. And no one to make the same cross-court passes that Booker makes, no one to suck into defense and bring two into an action consistently like he does, right?
Yeah.
It's just a gravity question. And I don't know, again, internally, I don't know how you solve that without Bradley Beal or another point guard who's just rock solid.
It has to be one of those two things, I think. The way that they're utilizing Kevin Durant so far is the right way to do it. I think they're doing it right. It's just a little, it's not, it doesn't look the same as when Devin Booker's on the floor. Here we go.
Hey guys, how's it going? Here's my question. Last year in the playoffs, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant were absolutely phenomenal, and the Suns lost mostly because everybody else couldn't step up and contribute. You need at least 8 guys, I think, 8 or 9 guys that you can really count on in the playoffs, and they just didn't have that. So my biggest question going into this season is, which of all these minimum contracts that the Suns picked up are going to fill out that 8 or 9 guys that we can really trust in the playoffs? And I want to know how many players the Suns currently have that you feel like we can give big minutes to in the playoffs and truly trust. For me, so far, you've got the big of 3, Eric Gordon and Keita Bates-Diop. Those are the guys that I'm pretty confident at this point can play a role in the playoffs. I'm kind of iffy on Grayson Allen and Drew Eubanks. I think they can play some kind of role. I don't know how big. And everybody else, I'm very unsure on. I want to know, for you guys, which players on the Suns are you confident at this point can play a big role in the playoffs? Love the podcast. See ya.
Excellent question. And I think probably partially spurred on by the lack of Bradley Beal. So we're kind of looking at what the Suns looked like last year with just 2 real stars in the playoffs. Obviously, Chris Paul was on the team too, but not at the end. Chris Paul didn't play the last 4 games against the Denver Nuggets. So I'm surprised that he was iffy on Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen's not a minimum player. He did say minimum guys. Grayson Allen for sure is in for me.
I get it if there are defensive concerns with Grayson, but like
Grayson Allen may have been the 3rd best player on the Suns in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, and I mean also just like I know the Bucks flamed out last year, but he played a huge role in the Bucks.
Yeah.
In the past couple of years. So I don't know. I think he has a proven track record. I'm not iffy on Grayson at all. He's definitely in that convo. So let's see. He said,
can we talk minimum guys? I'm interested because if we were just start going down the line of minimum contract players for the Suns that will play in the playoffs.
He said Eric Gordon and Bates Diop. I agree on those 2. I would put Grayson in there. I would put Eubanks in there. I mean,
Eubanks for sure is going to play, and he's been really great.
And so I guess the question is like, look, it's the modern NBA.
Yeah.
It's a modern NBA. Maybe they're not going to play 48 minutes of a traditional center. So maybe Eubanks is only playing, 12 or 15 minutes instead of 20. And then some other minutes are going to someone else. I don't know. But he can for sure hold it down for those 12 or 15.
The defense has been
awesome.
Really good with Eubanks on the floor statistically for this season. And I think He's probably going to be closing games pretty soon, depending on the matchups. If there's really athletic guards playing against the Suns, I could see him closing a lot of games. So for me, he's for sure. Eric Gordon, obviously for sure. Those are to me, the only two I'm 100% certain at this point of the season are going to play in the playoffs are Eric Gordon, as far as the minimum guys, and Drew Eubanks. Beyond that, the first guy you said is Keita Bates-Diop. I might say Jordan Goodwin. I feel like he's just so good defensively. Like, just you can't keep him off the floor.
His point of attack defense is great, but his offense still needs to take a big step up.
It's not been good, but they're finding ways to use him as a screener. But the other thing with him is he gets on the floor for every loose ball. He pokes the ball away from behind. He just creates deflections. He creates chaos that you need for the playoffs. I think you have to play him. I'm not 100% certain on yet, but he's been really good.
I'm not there with Goodwin. I could get there, but a Goodwin is in the Okogie spot for me, which is I love him personally. Like, I love the way he plays. I'm just not 100% sure we need him in the playoffs. That is, like, in deep playoff series. Like, Jordan Goodwin kind of to me feels like a guy, and Okogie is in the same boat, right? Yuta too. You can throw them all in. Where like maybe in a game one of a series, those guys will see 12 minutes. And then as it tightens and becomes a close series, game 5, 6, 7, when you shrink it down to like a 7-man rotation, suddenly you choose one guy, and that could be Grayson Allen, that could be KBD. That guy's playing 38 minutes all of a sudden, and you cut everyone else out of the rotation. And that would include, for me, Goodwin, Okogie, Yuta, as of now. That's just my thought today.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
So much depends on the particular matchup too. Like, if we're playing Denver and you need someone to harass Jamal Murray for 40 minutes, maybe that's Jordan Goodwin.
Yeah, he might start in that series. Yeah.
So I don't know. Good question.
Excellent question. I agree. That's a fascinating one. I think for me, the real takeaway from me is that I'm not sure yet still. I think we need to see more. Obviously, everything changes when Bradley Beal's back and guys are playing different roles, and they have to find their role within that. I do think if it's just 3 to 4 weeks without Bradley Beal, these opportunities that these guys get are going to pay dividends later when he is back, because that extra responsibility that they had on their backs, I think, will give somebody like Frank Vogel a little bit more insight, a little bit more information to make those decisions if Bradley Beal is back later. All right, one more, and then we'll call it, since this is the last one. Here we go.
Hey, this is Robert calling from Lawrence, Kansas. Grew up in Phoenix, married a Kansan, still a huge Suns fan. I comment on y'all's Twitter a lot about jerseys. Anyhow, my question, my comment, my wonder is, outside of Phoenix and the rest of the world, does it feel like there's a lot of Phoenix Suns hate? Like, they went from a sweetheart, maybe kind of interesting, to like, we hate them. I ask because my 8th grade son gets a lot of flack at school for wearing his Phoenix Suns gear. Kids kind of make fun of him. And then number 2, like, I've noticed people, even colleagues at work, whatever, they kind of hate Devin Booker. Is Devin Booker hated? I feel like the dude is so cool. Maybe he's on our team, so I think he's awesome, but like, he's got cool style, he's mellow, he can get like mad and like take charge. I don't know. He's really stinking good. Just kind of curious about the perspective or the perception the Suns have, or the folks have on the Suns and the rest of the world. Anyways, y'all are the best. It's the only Phoenix Suns podcast I listen to. Look forward to it every week. Thanks for everything that you do.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah. I want to say, first of all, that sucks that your son is getting flack for wearing Phoenix Suns gear. I think that's particularly shitty. So I'm sorry about that. Now, I'm going to say this. I moved to Phoenix and I became a Suns fan, and I've lived here ever since. So I'm in this like little Suns bubble where everybody likes the Suns, or at the very least, even if you're not even a Suns fan, you like when they're good because you live in Phoenix and you want the Suns to be good because it's more interesting. So I've had the luck of being around that. I know people who live in other places and have had similar experience. I'm thinking of our friend Rice online, who lives in California, gets a lot of flack from his coworkers.
I was going to say, I feel like California is a hotspot for Suns hate. It really depends where you are.
But Sam, you don't live in Phoenix. What's your experience been like?
Yeah, so I split my time kind of. I mean, I live in New York, but I split my time in two areas of New York, right? New York City sometimes, and then the Rust Belt area of New York, closer to the Canadian border. In the Rust Belt, kind of Western New York area, people kind of don't think about basketball. It's like this weird, like everyone's a Syracuse fan and like everyone's a Bills fan, but like other sports, you try and talk to them about it, and there's like a big question mark that you can see on their face. It's kind of like weird trying to get people to talk about basketball there. So I haven't experienced hate as much as indifference. When I wear Suns gear around in like the city, though, it's like mostly positive interactions that I get. There's a lot of transplants, I feel like, or a lot of like Arizonans who will, live in New York City or visit at some point in their lives at the very least, or even people who aren't from Arizona but are into the Suns. Every time I've gone to a Suns game at Barclays or MSG, I've only had basically positive interactions, and that involves both when the Suns have been bad and also in the past couple of years when they've been awesome. Now I will say, like, outside of New York, like I can just hypothesize. I do think the Suns hate is real in some areas, and I think it comes probably from a couple of different places. One, first of all, like for the very casual, some people are just terminally online, right?
Yeah.
Like some people are just dumb. they bought into the total haterade culture of how we talk about sports in the modern age, the first takeification of everything. And they sort of take that toxic discourse that they see online and they export it into their day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
And it makes everyone's life worse.
I almost feel like those people don't like basketball as much as they like hating on things.
Yeah.
Whereas the people I know that really love basketball that aren't Suns fans always seem to like Devin Booker and the Suns.
Yeah. But what's interesting, so I think that's one group of people. And I think that group of people, you're right, they don't really like basketball, but they follow basketball pretty closely.
Yeah,
like,
right.
At least at a surface level of the drama. They know the names, they know that stuff.
Yeah, they like the drama. They like the WWE element of it more than the actual sport being played.
Then there's a second group of people who I would describe as more indifferent, more casual fans. Maybe they've only watched Devin Booker play a few times. They're like, I don't know, they cling on to like the older generation. Maybe they care more about the LeBrons, the KDs, the Currys, whatever. Who I think there's just an inherent bias in sports. We see this all the time. It's not just with Booker or the Suns. It's with anyone. People don't like you until you win. And so, I think you see that with casual fans sometimes of like, they see this guy. There are some of us who just are naturally inclined to root for underdogs, and then there are others who just like to put up barriers. They like it, no matter what realm of life we're in.
Win a
like
ring,
to put a
win a real ring, win more than one ring. Yeah,
and I think
the bar just gets moved and moved and moved.
I think it's not just the hater culture, which definitely those people are saying that, but also it infests the casual culture a little bit too, of these people who are just like, they're not going to be inclined to care about this team until they actually win. And maybe that's fine. That's just incentive for Book. I know he, probably doesn't need any more incentive, but that's what it is.
Yeah. You're definitely not imagining it, Robert. If my experience on the internet is anything reflective of real life, which only, we know the reality is it's maybe 10% of real life. It's that is definitely real, that people are weird about the Suns. The one thing I want to mention about that I think is kind of specific to the Suns is they never had that one season where they got to be sort of the darling young team, that Cinderella team that OKC is getting right now, for example, where people were kind of rooting for them to be good, because the only time that they really sort of ascended was in the bubble, and that was 8 games. And then they traded for Chris Paul. Chris Paul, a lot of people don't like him, and then they made the finals, right? They skipped a step in some people's eyes, but also in the public consciousness, I think, where people they never had the opportunity for people to sort of fall in love with them. They went immediately from being garbage to everyone hating them for being too good. And that's, I think, a really unique thing for the Suns experience. And, it's sort of created a us against everyone culture for the team. And I think even more than for the team, for the fan base. It's just the way that we've reacted to everyone going forward. And it's real, it's weird, and it's odd. And, if they win a championship, I'm not sure if it will help or make it worse. I really have no idea.
I think fan bases all deal with various levels of adversity, and you can kind of choose how you're going to react to it in a couple of different ways. There's the Miami Heat, it's us against the world, and let's post it on our jerseys and our courts, like hyper obnoxious way of dealing about it.
Yeah.
And then there's the way I'd prefer to do it, which is let's just kind of tune out the noise from the outside and put our noses down and get down to business, and wipe the asses with some of our opponents, basically. And I would prefer not to go down the heat road if we can avoid it.
Yep. Well, that was a great question, and thank you to everyone who left us voicemails. 480-420-6553. If you call us on a Sunday or a Saturday, those are good days to give us a call, because usually we record Sunday afternoon or Monday. So leave us a voicemail whenever you can. Try to leave your name so we can thank you by name. We appreciate you all. Excellent questions this week. If you'd like to join our Patreon and talk on the Discord that was mentioned in some of these messages, patreon.com/thetimeline. You can get an extra podcast for $6 a month, or just join the Discord for $3 a month. At any level, you can join the Discord. Also, join us on Playback, playback.tv/thetimeline for the Portland Trailblazers game. One other thing I'll mention, we're going to do some League Pass watching on Playback now. So if you want to watch other teams where we can talk about those games and prepare for who the Suns are playing and later in the season, we're going to be doing that probably once a week going forward. So join us there as well.
If you're in the Phoenix area and your location is blocked when you try to watch us for the Suns games, that will not be the case for just League Pass browsing.
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity for maybe more people from the community to join us. And we'll try to do that probably around once a week as well.
And there's an Android app, by the way, if you have an Android phone. There's been an iPhone app for Playback for a while, but now there's an Android app that will notify you when we join. So if you're not paying attention or miss our tweets, you'll get a notification when we actually start watching games. We appreciate you all for listening. We'll be back with a midweek Patreon podcast for sure this week. So join us for that. Thanks, everyone. Back soon.